On the light of this new day, I encounter new tales, new downsides in my story. As I return from work, yet to see an eviction notice from my landlord. Would I say that is the worst I've ever faced in the past? But the life of an African child has so many tales to unfold. I know mine had not been of a good repeat, but today there is more to see in my story. If you think you have seen all that I have to say, then the eviction notice is just one of the little encounters of my life. When I checked around hoping to see my landlord, but nevertheless, the eviction notice this time was not like a threat. It was nothing else but an evacuation, an ultimatum. But when I walked into my house, I saw my girlfriend, who have later on moved to live with me, and I hope to be consoled by the harsh days that I have had outside. But just a single look from her face, I realized that I was in this harsh world all over alone. Would I ever thought that the girl I have done so much for would look me in the face and say how worthless, how useless, how uncultured and lazy I am? For everything I thought I had done with her or for her, she left me on the crossroads, alone to wallow in pain. The memories of our past lives start flooding my mind. Every good thing that we've done together, everything that I have done for her, start squishing my memory as the burden of this day unfold. She was never like this before. I quite remember a time when I still had a job. She would cook food and bring for me. And every day I hoped I would have someone. I sold everything I had, including my cell phone, just to keep to her needs. Selling my phone in the most unfortuitous price, a price no one will ever imagine, just to keep to her needs and maintain the smile on her face. When I just met her, she was a pretty damsel, an angel in the heart, and everything I ever wanted. Looking at her gave me a lot of courage. Looking at her gave me a lot of hope in life, a lot of pride as I forged my days. But this beautiful time we shared was never going to last as long as I thought. Gradually, as I sink in the moving sand, I realized how deep, how wicked, how poisoned in the heart she was. The poisonous venom of her attitude didn't unveil until when I lost my job. I started moving into gamble houses. I started moving into places I had never wanted to be in my life, hoping I could raise money to maintain a life, money to start up a life, money to forget everything else that had brought me sorrow in the past. I started gambling, entering bed houses, hoping to raise money. But today, as of all days, wasn't my lucky day. gambled and I failed. What will I do when I return back home? Without money or with nothing? I raised an argument with the bed house, which almost got me killed. Everyone else that succeeded in that house fought me so hard and pushed me out of that house. As it would be, I wouldn't blame them, but just the frustration my reality had brought into my doorstep. Looking at the bad government, the crisis, everything else which is not working onto my favor, I fought my way back into the gamble house again, hoping that this time around I can make it out. Today, I would like you to keep in your mind this particular face. This was Ganga, the street terror, commonly known by everybody in the streets as the Aguero, the money collector. Ganga collected money from everybody who made out life in the street, in every business, in everything you do in the street. You have to settle the Agueros in order to not have a fight, in order not to be ostracized, in order to keep your business running. My first encounter with Ganga, when he requested a pay from part of the money gamble that I have had, I explained to him, I don't have money, and all that I had gambled I lost, and I was going to give him nothing but the dust of my voice. Ganga was marveled by my voice and my words, and he thought it was all a joke. He spoke to the gamble man who already had settled his dues, who already knows who he is, and nobody messes with the street. I confronted Ganga aggressively, but every other person in the room who had known who Ganga is and what he represents just stood by and never looked at me. I never would imagine going back home with an empty pocket. I held Ganga on a fight, but the fight never ended well. The other people who had paid their dues and know what Ganga would do later on separated the fight as much as they could. The story of today is not about Ganga. It's not about failure. The story of today is about the encounters I had in the street. The street life which a lot of you had never understood. Back in my sorrows at home, I remember I so deeply realized the angel in disguise that I had, in name of a fiancé, in name of a girlfriend. After she moved in, could never cook again for me like before. Out of kindness, I decided to always eat in eateries outside with her. But every day, she ate as twice as much food as I would eat. Most of the time, she complains of making her hair, going to a salon, going for manicure, pedicure. I thought those were luxurious, but her rate of eating. In good words, I would say this woman is a glutton. Someone I so deeply was in love with, but could never see how deep I was drowning. I watched her eat, not because I couldn't eat, but because there was no money left in me to pay for my own part of the meal. Funny enough, my girlfriend wouldn't notice. Comfortable as she eats alone, my sorrows became more heavier than my shoulders. I just stare at her as she gobbles the entire food. And I started wondering, what have I put myself into? This life wasn't as pleasant as I thought it would be. When I listen to the stories of those who had lived before me and what they say about women, I always think it was just a mere exaggeration of their experiences. But life put me so hard in the street that I had to do barrow pushing to survive. There I said, you should remember this face again. Ganga standing right in front of me, collecting money from the street hawkers. I was so devastated seeing his ugly face again. But yet, I still have to pay my dues. Aggressively, I confronted him, made it clear to him that he should go find himself a job, else I never will pay him again. As usual, he fights every little move that I make. And what you wouldn't understand is, inasmuch as the Agueros collect money from people, it is their own job. And I wouldn't want to disappoint you. Some of them, as they will say, they are protected by the government. For reasons I am not allowed to expose in this voiceover. For reasons I am constrained not to expose in this video. The sadness in my heart grew deeper. Deep like a drowning animal in the ocean. I think of the best possible ways to make out in life, but all of them are flawless. Returning back from work, days after, my drunken girlfriend, always at home, doing nothing. I start wondering in my mind, is this the same lady that I fell in love with? That was so supportive, so understanding. But all of this changed the day she entered my house. What will I say? What will I do? Every day she drinks to the point of getting drunk. A few days later, on this fateful afternoon, I decided to take an evening nap, but yet awoken by a tap on the door, which I was afraid was my landlord, but to my greatest disappointment was my wayward drunken returning back from a party where she had drunk half of her life away. As many will say, a happy home leads to a happy life. The common two things that I do not have. The two things I now see as a luxury. I carried her into the house, but yet my sorrows grew deeper. As my story unveils, there are more chapters for me to introduce